Scope.
A very wet day today on both sides of the country. Another big storm is stalking California with more rain and wind right along the coastline, and heavy rains are also working their way into the northeast. Meanwhile, in central Florida, the number of dead continue to rise after the severe storms as of last night. We get the very latest right now from Mark Mancuso. He's in the Forecast Center. Mark?
All right, thank you very much, Will. And we've been checking on the stories, getting reports from Florida from the overnight and early morning hours. And here's just one sampling of one of the stories that came across here. I'll just read you just a few bits and pieces of it. Roof's gone, truck in a tree, and all that remains of one 86,000 square foot shopping center is exposed concrete and twisted metal. So that just gives you a sampling of what happened in East Central Florida last night. I'm going to give you an update on that. I'll show you some video in just a second. Right now, let's take a look and show you where the storm is and where it's headed. Well, the line of deadly storms is way out here now and pulling away from the east coast of the U.S. Right here, we do have a coastal storm that is developing. The old center moved up into Georgia. That's now fizzled right out. Now the energy is transferring to the system right along the coast. And wrapping around it now, considerable Atlantic moisture, and as that moves into the mountains of West Virginia there, it's snowing real hard. That snow is starting to move up into Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you, it is a cold, raw, nasty day in the nation's capital. 37 degrees right now at Dulles and raining. So it is raw and ugly. But up in the higher terrain here, going right up above 1,500 feet, it is snow. That's snowing through here. And if you are traveling to the high country, slick and hazardous travel, and we are looking for a significant snowfall event here in the interior of the Northeast. In the higher terrain, we'll probably be looking at in the order of 6 to 12 inches and maybe more. And on the coast, there'll be wind and rain. Let's take you now to southeast Virginia and give you a current picture of what's happening at the coast. We were getting live reports early this morning from Kristen Dodd. Not too much going on there, but as we take a look out from our mast cam out over the beach there, you can see the waves starting to churn on in here as our storm is just to the south now and intensifying. Take a look at some of those whitecaps out there. Some pretty good swells coming on in. And this area has been hard hit so far this winter season with the nor'easters, with a considerable beach erosion. The storm's proximity to Ocean City, as it's in its intensifying state, means this area will not be hard hit. But farther up the coast, we will have problems, especially as you head up through the Jersey Shore and into the New England region. Let's take a look at some of the warnings that are flying. And along the coast, gale warnings are with us this morning. And as we check it out with you on the maps and get you a closer view of it, we'll show you some of those advisories. Okay, thank you very much. And there you go, from Ocracoke Inlet up to the Merrimack River, gale warnings. As our low intensifies here, winds will really start to crank on in from the east and the southeast and shift around towards the northeast of Lowe's Passage. And as we saw in that video, there are the breakers coming on in, so heavy surf advisories are in effect. Tonight, as the storm really begins to take off and wind up, could be looking at some problems. Tidal flooding and coastal flood advisories have been issued here. Coastal flood watches from Montauk right down to the Little Egg Inlet on the Jersey Shore. Checking on the traveler for you in the inland areas. Problems with rain, heavy rains moving right up through the northeast corridor. Flood watch is already issued in New York City area, Hartford, Providence, Boston, and running up to the Capital District. But in the interior here, we do have that problem with the snow, and there will be a lot of it. And right now, it's starting to snow pretty hard here in the mountains of south central Pennsylvania. Here's a look at our snowfall forecast. This goes through midnight, and again, keep in mind as our storm develops, it'll race northeast, and then it'll really start to slow down. So as it slows down and kind of meanders about out here, we'll really start to see the precipitation pick up with time from Pennsylvania up through New York and into central and New England there. So through midnight, going for 6 inches plus, Poconos into the central mountains, PA, and into the Uincheat Mountains in West Virginia. But with time, things could get a little out of hand there from the Poconos to the Catskills and right on up and through this region here. And again, around the Capital District, kind of an elevation type storm. Here comes the heavy rain, as mentioned, really raw and nasty in D.C. There comes your snow up through the mountains, snowing pretty hard here, Johnstown and Altoona, right around the big horseshoe bend on the railroad tracks. To the south, well, here's your developing low right here, a little line of thunderstorms with that, but off to the west, winds are turning westerly, and we're seeing some drying. And in Florida, we're looking at some drying, but now the winds are starting to kick up for the massive cleanup outside Orlando. Let's show you some of the scenes, the damage that occurred last night. These are the scenes from Central Florida, where one tornado after another tore across Osceola, Seminole, Orange, and Volusia counties last night, right around the midnight hour. And as you can see, the damage is massive. At least 29 people were killed, 55 people unaccounted for. Sources say over 100 people injured, and of course power is out in the area. So it's just a real mess in Central Peninsula, Florida. We'll keep you updated on what's happening there and with our developing storm in the east. But looking west, there's another El Nino enhanced storm on the west coast. And here's Will Annan with more.
That's right, Mark. Another big storm is now moving through the west. Expect more heavy rainfall today all along the west coast of California. And not only that, severe weather is also going to be possible from San Francisco down to around San Diego. We can show you why in the satellite picture right now. We've got the big storm system coming ashore. Heavy rainfall has already been reported from Los Angeles up towards Sacramento, California during the morning hours. We think this afternoon, though, there's going to be a pocket of very cold air aloft. It's right in through here, and once this begins to move over land, like over central and especially southern California, we're going to be looking at the air mass destabilizing very, very quickly, and even more than it is right now. And that may lead to some severe thunderstorm development, more heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and of course some hail, and who knows, maybe an isolated tornado or two. Let's show you what's happening again as you look at the west. Here comes the front coming in right now. That pocket of very cold air aloft is associated with this area low pressure offshore that slides east-southeastward today and tonight across central and southern California. The Sierra Nevada above, let's say about 7,000 feet. Another 1 to 3 feet of snow is on the way by early morning tomorrow. Let's take a look at the temps across the west right now. Relatively mild again, looking at the 30s across the Pacific Northwest. San Francisco stands at 50, and with the rain, Los Angeles is coming in now at 57. Let's check on that rainfall for you at the present time. Northern and central California, heavy amounts of rain are coming down. Of course, in the Sierra, we're talking about some heavy snow. Heaviest of the rainfall during the last hour, right around Eureka, Chico, around the Bay Area. Here comes another slap of rainfall, and that will be locally heavy too. We'll drop you farther southward. If you live in Los Angeles County, Ventura County, once again, you're going to be looking at some flood problems developing right through about at least 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. If you see any additional thunderstorms developing, that could mean another problem there as well. Take a look at what's happening throughout the Midwest.